Hey, Internets! It's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here talking about Star Trek Discovery, Season 2, Episode 1, entitled Brother. The brother not appearing in this episode.
Yes.
Brother
from a different era.
And mother.
Oh, yeah. True. And father.
And father. All right. So the brother is obviously Spock. Would be the most. Maybe there's some other metaphorical reason for it, but I don't know if that seems to be the hammer on the head.
Yes.
Name explanation for the title.
Sure.
Okay, we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about season 1.
No.
Because you don't need to know a lot about it, but just to sum up maybe what you would want to know, you got Michael Burnham. She is the main character in the show.
Yes, she is.
She
completely forgiven for betraying the Starfleet and
she did. Boy, she was sentenced to life in prison for starting a Klingon war and getting her captain killed, mutinying.
Yep.
And then by the end of the season 1, she had fixed things, and this Klingon war was over. There was an armistice.
Saved everybody.
Saved it, and she's good. Everybody's fine.
That's all.
So there was that. We also saw that the captain of the Discovery last season was Lorca.
Yep, crazy Lorca.
Jason Isaacs, who was actually a mirror version of Lorca.
Like Stanley Des.
And he died. He was disintegrated.
It turns out he was from another universe, so boom.
However, actual Lorca may still actually be alive out there somewhere. And maybe one day they'll come back to him.
Maybe someday.
I hope they do.
Me too.
Anyway, he was a cool character, and I'd like to see non-mirror Lorca back.
Yep.
Okay. Also, you had the way that they traveled, the way that there was not just, hit warp. It was their mycelial network.
Spore drive.
Yes. Whoop, whoop, whoop. They could teleport anywhere. And the guy running that was this guy Stamets.
Yep.
He is still on the show. But he is thinking now about leaving the ship, as we find out in this episode.
Because he warns his husband.
Right.
The death of his husband.
Husband was murdered by Ash Tyler, who was actually a Klingon in disguise in season 1. And so he was basically, I'm going to do one more jump. And then they did one more jump, and bad things happened. And so now, but supposedly they've sworn off the spore drive, although if you look at the trailers for like the rest of the season, they use the spore drive. So it's coming back.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, though, this mycelial network is the spores connect to like another dimension. It's kind of like the quantum realm, it feels like, if you were to do like a Marvel kind of analogy. Anyway.
No one travels through there, though. I know they travel through there to get to other places.
Gotcha. I guess that's... so then at the end of season 1, they are intercepted by the Enterprise.
On their way to get a new captain.
On the way to Vulcan to get a new captain, and I guess also to drop Stamets off to go teach at the Vulcan Science Academy, because that was the new job he was taking.
There you go.
But they don't get there.
No.
Instead, Enterprise is there. Enterprise basically only has life support working, and that's kind of where we left off last time. Was like, oh look, who? That's Captain Pike. So we pick up immediately from there in season 2, episode 1. What we find out is the Enterprise, because they're damaged, Pike is taking over the Discovery in order to basically use the ship to go on this kind of crisis mission.
Yes.
There's an expectation that Michael has, because she knows Spock is serving aboard the Enterprise.
She does know that.
That maybe he'll beam over.
Yeah.
He does not.
They're gonna have a brother-sister moment.
They do not have that.
No.
And he does not beam over.
No, he doesn't beam over.
We find out later that there was no way he could have beamed over.
No way he could have beamed over.
I mean, it didn't come up. But
no, it really didn't.
It could have.
He could have. Yeah.
Pike's like, pays to lower your expectations. That way you don't get disappointed. And you could have just said, "Oh yeah, by the way, he's not on the ship."
Yeah. That would really lower the expectation.
Because, I mean, in her mind, she's saying, "Oh, he's not coming over because he doesn't want to see me." No, he can't. Yeah. He's literally not there.
Don't want to.
So that was anyways,
don't want to raise your expectations.
Yeah. So, in fact, I'll mention this right now. I do like, I think it's Anton Mount.
Yes,
I think is his
he's
name.
very
The guy
good
playing
at
Pike
Pike.
is very good.
Um,
Excellent. But he does give these
Better
lines.
than the original actor.
Okay. All right.
You remember that guy?
I do remember that guy.
Yeah, I mean,
He was kind of like,
he was kind of, yeah.
hey,
Yeah, it was like,
what's going on?
It was, you know,
You're talking way back when.
yeah. I mean, it was
In the
wise of
menagerie.
them to get rid of him.
Or you're talking about the guy that was in the giant, you know, beep, beep, beep.
That guy was better than him.
Okay. But it did seem like, as much as Pike was great, and his line delivery, because he had some lines that could have, in different hands, could have really sucked, frankly. But he pulled them off.
Yep, he did.
But he also, it sounded like he was talking to the audience at times, where he was like, for instance, you know, it pays to lower your expectations. That way you don't get disappointed, audience. And what was the other one he did? He did another one that was like, oh yeah, look, we're going to have some missions. Let's all remember to have some fun. But like, it was just like, again, like,
Oh yeah, no, there was
audience.
another. I thought you were gonna mention like this, like, oh, and everybody, please introduce yourselves. Say your names, everybody, so everybody
That-
can hear who you are.
that was hilarious. I mean, good on them for realizing they had never introduced the crew of the ship before. It just brought out the fact that they'd never introduced the crew before. So they do this roundabout. They do like a little exposition thing. I don't know, everybody name yourselves. I don't care about your ranks. Just tell me what you are. Now, there was Detmer. I remember Detmer.
What did you?
Detmer is the woman with the little bionic eye who's like a navigator. And then there was Jenkinson
I don't even
and
remember.
Stivens. I don't know. No, I have no idea what the other names were. It was like, so there still aren't actual characters yet, but I know
for-
Detmer. There's one.
Yeah, it was. You're saying it was like an episode of Peanuts.
Yeah. No, so yeah, Detmer. It did occur to me, it seems like Detmer has a bionic eye, or either that or a contact lens, but it looked like it was a bionic eye. Because then later we see, like, pre-Geordi, we see the dude with the banana clip, like a visor.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me,
remember
like,
that.
why didn't he just get bionic eye?
Oh,
Anyway. No, they have a visor guy now.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, it's a weird looking visor. It's like it's going to take a couple of years before they get the good one,
Yeah.
the Geordie one. Okay, so Pike's commandeered the ship,
Yes.
and the purpose is, hey, there are these 7 red markers that have shown up all around the cosmos, and we don't know if they're a warning or if it's an act of malice. And we're supposed to investigate them.
Yep.
And only, like, here's the weird part I didn't quite understand.
Oh.
So like 7 markers came out.
Yep.
It was like whooshing, and they shows the map.
Yep.
He shows them. Here
There
they
they
went.
are. There they are.
But then he says, oh, but then they disappeared, and only 1 is showing right now. And the implication was, we'll go to that one because we don't really know where the others are. I'm like, don't you know where they are? You had a map of them. Just because they're not showing now, couldn't you go to the last location?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that. I mean,
Okay.
it may just be like, well, let's go to that one since it's still there.
Right, okay. Well, sure. Okay. But I got this feeling of like, you could go to the other spots. It's not,
Yeah, I don't know.
you have a map.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Can't tell you. Sorry.
So they
I've been
indeed
days and I've seen it.
They indeed go to said site where the one red light is still lighting.
Turn on the red light.
That's right. Yes, Roxanne is where. When they come out of warp, there's no red light,
Well.
which leads to he has a funny line where he's like, "Where's the damn red thingy?" or something like that. I forgot the exact line, but it was kind of a funny haha. So yeah, there is no more red light,
No.
but there's an asteroid has collided with another thing, and it's pushing into a
Yeah, all
pulsar,
these, yes.
and there's a ship. There's a
Yep.
crashed ship on the asteroid that has its own gravitational field, I guess, which is weird supposedly because
yeah.
it's too small for its own gravitational. I don't know.
Oh, you know?
Okay, so on the ship there are survivors. They have to save the survivors. They do.
Yes, I do.
There is the survivor that we primarily get to see. The only one who's really conscious, I guess, because like all the
Yes.
others are like,
Yes, they're all in beds.
is Tig Notaro as engineer Jet Reno.
Yes.
I believe. I liked her.
I did like her, even though I'm going to question the whole idea that medicine is really
an engineer can keep people alive. Like I was like, but okay, fine, and I'll go with it. But yeah, that was a stretch. Like I work on machines, so I know how the heart works.
Yeah, there you go.
She said I can read. I'm like, okay, well that's
there you go. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Give me this book and I'm good. So, but she did. She super heroically keeps the rest of the surviving crew members alive.
Yeah, super heroic.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And I think, though, I did check on IMDb. It looks like, IMDb is not the end-all, be-all, but it just credits her with one episode.
Okay.
So it'd be unfortunate. I would like to see her come back.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The other attempts at humor on this episode are just horrible and cringeworthy. Her attempts at humor were like the sarcastic, sardonic commenting on bad situation in a sarcastic way. I like that. I thought it played well with the style of the show.
Sure.
The guy sneezing on the elevator and the Tilly being so over the top, incapable of conversation. It's just not. Yeah. Anyway, not a fan.
No, he's not a fan.
Interestingly, you know what? I know Paul.
Oh, I didn't like the sneezing either.
You might.
Tilly.
You might be interested to know this. I'm not a fan of Tilly. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I did. I
mean, last season I was so on board.
He was like, hey,
why does favorite? No.
He was like, why doesn't the evil Tilly kill the good Tilly and then kill herself?
That actually would make a great storyline. Maybe we'll get to see that still. All right. Anyway, she's actually, at least for the beginning of this episode, she's actually worse than normal. She's very just flighty. Also, I mean, when she accidentally puts his being Pike's record on the giant screen.
That was stupid.
That's incompetent. Also, she puts his medical history, academic history, employment history. I mean, that's the kind of thing that, like even in today's terms, if you put up someone's medical history in front of you, that's a pink slip style offense potentially. Like I assume privacy rights don't get less in the future.
Well, I wouldn't.
I
wouldn't assume that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the future.
So Pike handles it well. Pike was like, "Oh, great, you put it up."
To judge him.
You're right. I did get an F in this class, and I did have asthma. Yeah. Thanks, Tilly, for letting everyone know.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be. I think she's gonna be the Mrs. Pike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
Oh my. Great. Now I did kind of zoom and enhance on his record to see if there was anything interesting there.
You're invading his privacy.
I was invading his. I took the opportunity. I was like, all right, fine. Privacy invaded.
Thanks, Tilly.
Thanks.
Even though I hate you.
Thank you so much, Tilly. So, I mean, it did list all these different little injuries he'd had in the past, and he has asthma and his fractures and whatever. But it mentioned he had a series of ships that he had been involved with before Enterprise. Mm-hmm. The one that caught my eye was the Antares, which I believe, I'm pretty sure that is the ship back in the original series, Charlie X. Remember the one where they bring aboard that guy Charlie, who's like can control everybody?
Oh.
The ship that he controlled and then I think eventually blew up was the Antares.
Interesting.
So maybe that's like the captain after Pike had a bad experience aboard the Antares, which is no longer a ship.
Interesting.
Also, I mentioned that the previous captain of the Enterprise was Robert April, who I don't think he's canon. He is now. I don't know that he was canon, but he was like mentioned. I looked it up in like an animated version.
Well, then there you go.
But now he's canon.
I think
Robert April.
I think they consider the animated series canon.
Okay.
I think so.
So anyway, that's the dude before Pike. The mission is, I guess, a success in some way, in that they saved the lives of this crew, the Hiawatha. But they basically come back to the Enterprise. So they've gone away to the red mark, which is no longer red when they arrive.
Right. Save
a ship, return to the Enterprise.
Yeah, well, it seems unlikely. One of the things that they were happy to discover, Tilly figured it out, is that there's a strange gravitational thing there that is somehow related to the spore field.
Right. She said that the certain rocks were exciting the mycelial network.
Yeah. So that's why they took in a big boulder asteroid.
Giant
there,
asteroid.
Yeah. Which, I like that part.
Yep.
And so presumably that's going to, the things that are happening with this are still going to be related to that. And maybe ultimately it'll be like, we shouldn't use this spoil drive anymore. Maybe that'll be the end of it. It'll be like,
yeah, instead we should use
restored.
this. We should use this anti-grav new moon rocks to power our ships. Then again, is a new canon problem. So end of the episode. Michael asks to go aboard the Enterprise, even though Spock is not there, to go check out his room. And Pike gives her the permission. She goes into his room, checks out his personal logs. I'm like, ma'am, all right, well done. Do you think there'd be a safety code on there or something? But he's like, nope.
See, that tells you no privacy in the future.
No privacy in the future. Good point. They don't care.
No.
Yeah.
It's like, see, I'm not going to judge you or make sure you don't lose a job for some, medical condition. Nah.
So she checks out the personal log. We see a couple of Easter eggs in his room, like the little bells. I think that's from the bells from the Amok time.
Yeah.
And then he's got the 3D chess board. And then she plays his personal log, and he's like, when I was a little kid, we'll talk about the intro to the episode, which flashes back to when they were kids. But when I was a kid, I had nightmares, and my mom said, hey, if you draw, you can, basically thwart your nightmares. So he had this giant iPad drawing device thing that he would draw, but then it would also make holograms in the air. It was like, that's fine. Whatever. I mean, that seems canonically kind of weird, but that's fine.
I don't know about that.
No? You think maybe they had that
I feel like they had,
Maybe
in the original
Vulcan had that
series, they would sometimes have weird sort of, whoa, kind of apparitions or whatever that would be shown.
All right. So be it.
It's not like the tech of the ship.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, there's, I look at the canonical problems in two ways. There's the tech problems and the story problems. For the tech, I kind of forgive them a little more, just because it's no longer in the 1960s or the 1980s or the 1990s,
right?
And audience members expect a certain to see the future. And if you're looking at tech from the 1960s show, it looks kind of weird now. So I get it. I get the idea of making the tech look cooler or whatever. It's the story one that I have less of a.
What story things are you seeing though?
Well, it's just the more that they have Spock in here, the more that they have Pike here, they're going to be running up against the menagerie. I mean, at any point now, they're going to have. Now they're kind of, Spock never mentioned having a sister before,
never did.
So they're going to have to find a way for him to have adventures with her and then not talk about her anymore.
Yep.
This whole
because one thing they reference in the show, I was in some other broadcast that was talking about it that I hadn't really noticed. But, so the episode starts off with Michael and Sarek.
Yeah, let's bring it up. Go ahead.
And she's like, oh, I haven't talked to him in years. Me neither. Sarek still doesn't talk to him because he leaves the Enterprise.
Right.
So you see? So in the first time that he saw him in the first time we saw his character in the original series, I haven't seen him in years. So see, they're still trying to keep with the So Sarek didn't see him in years.
I see what you're saying. That was a nod to the canon, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also too, I think was it you or someone else was saying what's his name? Pike makes some comment that suggests oh, you never know what's gonna happen to you, because you're gonna wind up as a vegetable ultimately and have to be hanging out in a planet. God, they can't figure out medicine's not that good. Sorry.
I know that was always the thing about this is the best we can do. We put you in a Dalek basically. Let you. Will we see that? Do we think we'll see Pike? No, we probably won't see Pike get in trouble, right? Because the Pike radiation problems happened after the menagerie. So, in other words, like,
Right.
in other words,
Right.
we wouldn't see him this season be crippled. That's kind of my point.
Well, wait. The menagerie happened. He went to that planet once, right, and then came back because it was like, oh, now we have a solution to your thing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, I mean, you could have events around that.
I'm just saying,
know,
in other words,
like-
do you think he will be crippled and like radiation poisoning or whatever by the end of this season?
I wouldn't have a problem with it personally. Some people might, because it's like it might be the whole what is it, Solo, the Kessel Run problem.
Oh, okay.
Where people are like, "Oh, you showed me. That's not what I thought it was. I hate this." So, I mean, it sounds like in my memory of it, they had a fairly, or at least a good enough explanation of what happened to him to make him bad. Why not show it?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But to
I'm just
me,
thinking in a timeline, does that fit? But okay.
Why not?
Because I felt like.
Because the thing that occurs to me actually watching it is this.
So you think that's already happened to him, in other words, in this timeline? Like the whole menagerie thing's already
I don't know.
happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's not, but it could have happened, or still could yet to happen.
Okay.
I wouldn't see them sticking it into this season, but maybe it's sometime next season. I don't know.
All right. I'm just saying, because if it hasn't happened yet, then it would be a weird timeline thing to have him crippled before he goes on to that
But
adventure.
yeah, right.
I hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it'd be the last thing that he does.
So
It's like, wait, I think I can manage it. Thank you, Michael.
look, we have an iPad that can make dragons in the sky, but only thing you can do is yes or no with a button. That's it. Just give him the yes or no button thing. That'll be fine. Maybe a maybe? No. It's a yes or no. Okay, so what do you interpret from that ending? We see Michael, here's this thing. Oh, yeah, in the past I had these dreams. The nightmares returned. It's always the same dream. I now know what it means. I've embedded an image here in this audio file in case people after my death can find me. This will be my last transmission here on the Enterprise. And she pulls up the whoop, 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 whoop into the sky, and the whole hologram is the 7 red markers.
Right. So
Okay.
what do I think
So
of it?
what did you interpret that to be?
Oh, I don't know.
In other words, so he's seen this in his dreams.
Right.
And apparently he saw those when he was a kid.
Right.
That's
Yeah, I don't have a theory.
even weird
Do you?
part. Not a good one.
Oh, okay.
Can I say that?
Yeah. Oh, so to start off, it's shitty.
It's a really awful theory. No. All right, I'll throw this out. I'm going to say that the odds of this being right are slim. Okay.
But he has the smallest hope in his heart that it will be right. It will be
And then I can be like, woo, I own the internet. Much like my True Detective theory, which I'm not going to talk about on this show because it's Dork Lords.
Right, yeah,
But it's just killing me inside that I'm like, it's not really quite, but I've got a theory. Okay, anyway. All right.
Yeah, and then maybe our followers will go up to like 600.
That's right. 287. Okay, so we know we could talk maybe later about this. Maybe we'll save this for some other time. But Alex Kurtzman is the current showrunner.
Yes, he is.
He is a guy that kind of helped initiate the Kelvin timeline Star Trek movies.
Yes, he did.
Especially the first and the second movie.
Yes.
In that timeline, as you know, which apparently this is still relevant to the Kelvin timeline. I saw an article that had this really complex way that it's still involved, but apparently it's still somewhat relevant to the Kelvin timeline.
Wait. What?
Yeah, I know.
This is supposed to be the original timeline.
But it's like...
And the only way it's related to the Kelvin timeline is in the future, Spock goes back to the Kelvin universe. That's the way that it's related.
Okay. All right. So I thought that though there is then a future version of Spock out there.
Currently, right now?
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, the Spock that exists that we haven't met yet that is cast by somebody who isn't...
You're saying this is the first go-run for him, in other words. Like the Spock we know at the moment in Discovery has yet to get old, so he hasn't gone back in time.
Yes.
I got you.
That's what
I was
I'm
just
saying.
thinking maybe there's a version of him that's out in the future. Hence, like, there's a psychic connection because that's why he's having dreams of this the thing, and that from the future, the only way that, say, future Spock, for instance, could translate this really important information is to somehow these little markers are markers. Like, go to these places and you'll be able to solve this horrible problem that's, I don't know. I'm just trying to, like...
I forgot that that's what you told me. Yeah, I would hate that.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Maybe it isn't, but I hate
because
it.
One of the parts of that reasoning is that these are markers supposedly intended for Spock, or that they're being helpful, is that the fact that the marker disappeared when they arrived and all that they found was a ship that they then saved. It almost feels like maybe that was the point of like, and you saved them. Right. Like...
I guess, but it feels like part of the reason why it's a problem is because the only reason why it was a problem because of this weird anomaly that was happening. So it'd be like, okay, let me create an anomaly, and you better save somebody as well.
I know. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to say that's wrong. You've convinced me that my slim to none is actually a none level. So if you've got a theory out there for what the angel... I'll say this too. Another thing that made me... Again, it's a tenuous connection, but... that supported my slim theory was one of the first things we see in the episode, in the series, or in the season, is, this young Michael being introduced to Amanda.
Yep.
Amanda's wearing a red dress.
Oh, okay.
And she, the idea of like the Red Angel... Perhaps that's the way Spock maybe even viewed his mom or something like that. That maybe that's somehow it's a metaphor for the family.
Maybe her middle name's Roxanne.
Maybe it's Roxanne. I looked this up just because I'm a nerd. But I looked up the meaning of the name Amanda. It means like one who is loved, but the additional meaning is angel of God. So you could say like an angel who's in red, the red angel. All right. But the odds of this actually being accurate are pretty slim. But it is odd that he had visions of this as a kid.
Yes, that is odd.
And now they've come back as it is in adulthood, and it's happening, and ding. It's just So it seems like it's connected to Spock in some way. Maybe. So it seems like for episode 2. Probably the way that they're going, because there's nothing to now, there are no more red dots that are currently active. No. I think the next part of the quest is the search for Spock, right? They're going to be like, Spock went on this mission. He said he was going to die maybe, and we have to find him, and here's the map to find him.
There you go.
And so they're going to go try to find Spock.
Yeah, they'll find him.
And they will find him. How late do you think in the game do you think it'll be before Spock shows up?
Oh, I think it's... Well, if I had to guess, I'd say the next episode. But there might be the third episode. But I feel like...
It's going to be at the end of one of these episodes. There's going to be an end end of episode 2. It'll be and it's who?
Yeah.
Spock!
Yeah, I think so.
So there's probably at least one entire episode that's going to go by without him.
But yeah, and one thing that they were talking about in the interview that I heard with Alex Kurtzman is that you'll notice in the pilot episode that they reshot, or that became part of Menagerie, was Spock was a little more emotional in that show.
Sure. Yeah. Right. So in other words, they're showing that in his youth he was a different guy, and then maybe a series of events happened that made him more,
right.
The computer, unemotional, Vulcan-y guy that he is now.
More logic.
So obviously, little kid Spock, kind of a jerk to his sister, his adopted sister. Sibling rivalry. We see him close the door in her face.
Yeah, we do see that.
But we also get a kind of a mysterious / kind of disturbing conversation where I think it's Pike talking to Michael. And they're talking, or maybe it's Sarek. No, it's Sarek. That's right. It's Sarek talking to Michael. It's later in the episode, and she's referring to like, oh yeah, for a time, we were good friends, and then we weren't. And he says something. Well, he always had trouble. I was trying to teach him empathy through you. She's like, oh, he had empathy. She says this weird. The way she comes out with it is like, What was that all about?
Yeah, really.
And so...
Me too.
Something, and then she also said, right, well, she said, I broke it off, I think is what she said as well. So something perhaps Me Too-y happened, and she broke it off with him. I don't know, but it's weird.
I agree.
It's they'll explain it, and in fact, Sarek says, sounds like you're not telling me something. I'm here if you want to talk about it. No, maybe no. Okay, something. It sounds like in the beginning, Spock rejected her. They grew to be friends, and then something happened that they split up again and hadn't talked for years.
Right.
And so that's that's going to get resolved, obviously, in some way.
Probably.
What else? Little Easter eggs. Another Easter egg was the Pike is in the ready room, Lorca's, and he's got the little fortune cookie that Lorca had, and it mentions, I forgot the entire phrase, but it's something about a cage, which is a prison.
That's the thing.
So it was a reference to the cage, which was the first pilot episode, which had Pike in it.
Right, and the thing about it is like, a cage is not,
Cage is not a prison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so one day you can be in prison in this little box.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it means.
According to this fortune, I'm doomed.
Yes.
Boop, boop.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. Obviously the episode, it looks slick. The production values are high.
Yeah. I'm glad they killed off that guy.
Oh, right. So in this, they had the guy who was not Spock.
No.
We thought is Spock coming over? No, it's his replacement, Conley. So Conley is just kind of a dick, basically, and just, insults everything. And then deliberately doesn't follow orders.
Yeah.
First he's like, I know better, Michael Burnham. Then his captain says, it's an order.
Right.
And he's like, I know it better. And he dies.
Yeah.
So it's like he just caused his own death, basically.
Yeah. And really he's like, I should wear red, but no, I'm not going to wear red.
I know, that was the interesting thing. So in that scene, there's like these pods going through asteroid field. They were playing asteroids. And there's a red shirt in one pod, and there's Conley in a blue shirt in another pod. Red shirt stays alive.
Yeah.
Red shirt lived.
Yeah.
So now it's not being a red shirt kills you, it's being a dick to Michael Burnham kills you.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, there you go.
I did find this interesting too, that so they all had their, obviously their outfits. They've kind of gone more for the Trek outfits, or the Enterprise outfits were the blue and the yellow and the red.
Yes.
And then when they got into their spacesuits were also the same colors. It was like they color coded the spacesuits.
Yeah, that was funny.
That way, if you're, say, a Klingon and you're trying to figure out who to shoot, you shoot the yellow one. You shoot the yellow ones. We did hear a name drop of L'Rell. She was the Klingon.
Yeah, they
She's
would
now
talk
like
to L'Rell
the
because
Chancellor.
Their contact.
The armistice has been signed, and she's heading the Klingons at this point. We did see, so Stamets talked about, leaving the ship. He's going to be a teacher at the Vulcan Academy, and he still has he has a little, a hologram chip that he uses to, see his dead husband. Yep. He's pretty
obviously
still devastated about the whole thing.
It'd be unfortunate if it feels like they're gonna do something to bring him back.
I think so. I think we're gonna see the husband before the end of the season, probably through the mycelial network, is my guess. Right?
Wasn't it?
Couldn't he? Didn't he used the mycelial network before to see like another version of himself?
Yeah. And
I feel like that's the way he maybe.
I mean, he saw that version from the other universe, right? Yeah. And he was like, I've communicated with you. I don't know. I mean, they got a lot of flack for fridging him.
Right.
So.
Right.
I feel like, and the fact that we're still seeing him.
And I think the actor.
And he's like, the story isn't over yet.
Yeah, I think the actor mentioned that, it's like, hey, not for nothing, but. And of course, he was actually in this episode, but
yes, he
is a hologram.
Yeah.
The little story, not parable, the story that Stamets tells about how, in this particular type of opera, when the prima donna sings one song, she gets to do one aria and then commits suicide.
Suicide.
and you support that? Like that's like that sounds horribly barbaric and like maybe something you wouldn't support. But you're like, no, it's good. Beautiful.
Deeper.
Can't wait till she dies. So that's a thing. I guess there's a culture that does that. Oh, we did get the name drop from Saru about his sister. He mentioned his sister, which we saw in the short treks.
That's true.
So I did mention at the time we saw the sister in the short trek that maybe he'd come back to save her or something at some point. That could play out perhaps in this thing. They got a lot to do though in this. From the trailer of the like coming this season, there was so many different. You got the Klingons doing their thing, and then you've got all these different characters coming. You got Ash comes back.
Second 31. The
Giorgio. Sector 31. Giorgio is there.
Giorgio,
they got a lot of ground to cover. Plus, they got to get through all 7 of these markers. It's like a little video game, right? You got to like level 7.
Yeah.
Big
and
boss.
apparently being more, although it doesn't seem like it. Well, perhaps being more episodic in the course of the season, just 'cause, like, we know you don't like arcs as much.
Oh, did they say that?
It's been theorized.
Okay.
That's what they're gonna do.
Do a little more like you can just have a self-contained episode. This episode we dealt with this red marker.
Yes.
This episode we dealt with this red marker. So yeah, I don't know. Any final thoughts, sir?
No, I've got no.
I enjoyed the episode. It's not perfect.
No.
But it's some fun.
But it's
sci-fi.
it's a new direction certainly. So we can see what the show will be like under Alex Kurtzman.
Yes. Jury's out on that a little bit, but let's see how he does. I would say, if I had to pick the major point that I hope improves, it's the writing of the show. I think the dialogue is still kind of unfortunate at the moment. So let's hope that picks up.
You can look at this, but it might be fair to think of this as a new pilot since they're setting up so much. So typically,
it's the cage.
The
cage 2.
Typically, when you have a pilot, there's so much that you're trying to set up.
Right.
So
the fact that they introduced those characters on the bridge now, is the same as what you're saying. Like, all right, fine, we get it. Yeah. We forgot to mention these guys in season 1. We're starting over. Here they are. Yeah. So yeah.
But I'm looking forward to number 1. That character.
Who?
The character in the pilot that was played by Majel Barrett.
Oh, sure.
I think she was number 1.
Yeah, is she in this?
She's going to be in the.
She is
they
going
cast
to be
somebody.
Oh, okay,
not
cool.
Majel Barrett because I think she's dead, but a character that will play that character. So those are the kind of things that I think that make me hopeful for the season is that characters that like, okay, we can explore these things that were typically not talked about. So
yeah, all right, and we'll see if Tig Notaro's character gets brought back.
Yeah,
I mean, if you mention the episodic, then maybe she's not because we saved her. She had her lines. She's done.
Yeah, hopefully that's just people really liking her as a character. I mean, because they don't have anybody in that show that functions as a engineer.
I mean, Stamets kind of, but
he's more like theoretical. He's like working in a lab or whatever.
Right.
I mean,
they don't have a Geordie. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Or
Scotty. Yeah.
Oh. I'm giving her all she's got, Captain.
Right.
That's what you need.
Or an O'Brien.
Good point. Yeah. Right.
And
those
who
characters
cares who it was in Void?
Or
Enterprise?
I have no idea who the Voyager one was. Actually, I'm forgetting. There you go. That's your trivia question out there to win no prize at all.
Yeah, that's right.
Who was
You'll
the engineer
get a
on Voyager?
No prize.
Am I forgetting? All right. Anyway. All right. So yes, we'll be back talking about Counterpart. I'll probably throw in a Lord of the Rings in there somewhere, and we'll be back with Discovery episode 2 next time. Bye, everybody.